In this video, I will be covering the grading criteria for the discussion essay initial assignments. Just quickly before I get started, you will see up here discussion board rubrics. Just to clarify, I do use the same grading criteria for the initial essays that we will be turning in class for this course, as I do for the initial discussion board post that are submitted online. So that is why the grading rubrics are the same, and the name of the rubric is different. But the assignment is the discussion essay initial assignments that we will be turning in class. The first line here is the initial post due date. So each assignment is worth a total of 100 points. Turning in your assignment is worth 30 points to that grade. So turning in your assignment on time is 30 points towards that grade. So if you submit it on time, that's 30 points to this line. If it's 1 day late, you only get 20 points, so it'll be minus 10. If it's 2 days late, you only get 10 points for this line, so that'd be minus 20. And then if it's 3 or more days late, you have 0 points awarded on this line, which is a total for negative 30 points. So you could have a perfect essay, but if it's 3 or more days late, the highest that you can get on this assignment is a 70. The next line here is comprehension of content. This is worth 20 points to your grade. What I'm looking for here is that you as a student, you're displaying an understanding of the topic by using correct terminology, specific examples, discussing key concepts that are relevant to the assignment. Information in the examples that you're providing are accurate, and that you elaborate on these examples. So the general theme of this rubric is to start with your textbook. Use your textbook as a primary resource. If you use that to address each topic, you will do just fine on all of these grading criteria. Where I see students get in a little bit of trouble where the comprehension of the content comes from is they go outside the textbook and they start Googling and looking for things, and depending on what resource and how reliable it is, the terminology that is used might not be the same. So definitely use your textbook as a primary resource. More on that in a minute. But basically here what I'm looking at is that you have a basic understanding of the topic. Okay, I don't go through this making sure that you understand every single little piece of the topic and you're defining everything perfectly. But the key to this is providing examples and elaborating on your thoughts. So remember, the initial essays I'm only requiring 300 words, which is not a lot. But I would say that if your tactic is to look at the word count and making sure that you hit 300 right on the point, that's probably not a good tactic. Because I do want you to elaborate and explain, because if you define something incorrectly and you do not elaborate or provide any kind of explanation, I can only take it that you completely misunderstood the term, and you'll lose some points here. But if you define a term incorrectly, but you elaborate and kind of show your thought process and how you came to understand that term, then I can see that you're actually working through the information. So it wasn't simply that you just didn't read into it or just totally missed the boat. I can kind of see your thought process. The third line here is reasoning, resource, and usage. On this line here, the main thing to remember is use your textbook as a primary resource. So with many of these matter-of-fact questions, when you're answering something specifically, these questions can be answered directly out of the textbook. Now, for the opinionated portions, I would like to see you guys branch outside the textbook. You don't have to, but I would like to see that. And you can access reliable resources in the complementary resource folder in each module. But the key is that they are reliable. So things like Wikipedia, blogs, Facebook, other social media outlets are not reliable resources. Additionally, maybe if you use a reliable resource, but all you did was tell me that you Googled it, Googling and then copying or looking at whatever pops up in Google is not a reliable resource either. So start off with the textbook, and then branch out from there. So the in-text citations and references are really key because this is going to tell me what reliable resources you are using. If I do not see any in-text citations or a reference list, I just can only assume that you didn't use any resources. And so this line here really does affect this line here. So just quickly, the difference between an in-text citation and a reference list is that an in-text citation is generally just the author's last name and the year of the publication in parentheses within a paragraph or within the context of your paper. What that does is that tells me the sentence that you typed is an idea that you got from the resource that you use, as opposed to your original ideas or thoughts. Okay. The reference list is a compilation of all the citations. So it's a list to show me more information about the author, what was the name of the text, but most importantly, it shows me where you got that information. So what's really important here is that that they are present. Now, as I said here, as I got listed here, I'm looking for correct format. I am not necessarily going to be taking off a ton of points if you do not properly have APA format. I hope to learn and teach you guys as we go through this course, but what I'm really looking for in the correct format is that whatever you list in your reference list, I can use to find the source. So let's say you Google something and then you find a reliable article on a news website, but in the reference list, you just list Google. That's going to be an incorrect format because there's no way I can find the article that you used by just clicking Google. So a hyperlink, the name, the author, the name of the publication, whatever information that you have to let me know what source that you used. So this line here is worth a total of 15 points. The last really graded line here is the clarity, mechanics, and grammar. This is not an English class, so I'm not going through this with a fine-tooth comb, but keep in mind here that there is a lot of discretion that is involved with grading writing assignments. And so I really look at the information that you provide. And again, that's why it's important to elaborate and explain because, everybody's writing styles are different and terminology that is used is different. So I try to kind of put myself in your shoes and see if you are, understanding the terminology correctly. And so this is why clarity, mechanics, and grammar is very important because if you have a bunch of grammatical errors, such as spelling errors or misuse of capitalization or misuse of punctuation, it really reduces the clarity in your writing. And so when I'm trying to interpret, if you have a good comprehension of the content, but yet you have a significant amount of grammatical errors, it is very difficult for me to see how you understood the content. So that is what I'm looking for here. My recommendation is that you, definitely use Microsoft Word and do the spell check. What I would recommend, if you have the opportunity, have somebody else review it and read it. Have a classmate, share it. See if they can point out some stuff to you. And of course, you are always welcome to send me a rough draft, and I'll give you. I probably won't go into a lot of detail about the comprehension of the content. Maybe if I see something that stands out, but I'll definitely give you some editing advice on maybe punctuation and formatting. So the last line here that I'm just going to cover is pretty much a zero-sum grading line. Plagiarism. If you've never been exposed to what plagiarism is, so please take some time to review the student code of conduct and look at the complementary resources in each module about how to avoid plagiarism. But the key here is that pretty much I want you to do your own work. your sources are a way to substantiate the information that you are typing out. Okay, so it is very obvious when a student plagiarizes work. The way I look at it is this: if you do it once, you're going to get a 0 on the assignment, but you'll have an opportunity to make up the assignment. If it happens twice, you're going to get a 0 on the assignment and it stays a 0. If it happens a third time, I'm going to drop you from the course. And it's not going to be a situation where I'm not going to tell you that it's happening. I'm going to give you the feedback and we'll have some conversations about it. What I'm looking at here is a genuine effort to properly paraphrase and summarize key thoughts. Okay, well, that concludes the video here. And again, this is the grading criteria for your discussion essay initial assignments.